All right, and welcome back to the movie Pope. And today we are going to take on a more religious bent. His Moviness, the movie Pope, will be going up against The Nun, or The Nun II, as it's called. Um, so I've seen the first movie. I guess we call it Nun
I have seen none of this. I guess being the movie Pope, this is like blasphemy for me. But I'm willing to, I'm willing to check it out to see. I do know about the Nun, right? So I know about it. Seen loads of clips about it, so like I have a general feel for it. But it's not the type of movie that I want to go see. Didn't see the first one, so I am going in fairly blind into this.
Well, did you see the it wasn't the first one, it was the second Conjuring one where they introduced the nun. Did you see that movie?
No, I've not seen any of the Conjuring. I've not
Uh,
seen Annabelle or any of that shit. No idea. Don't watch any of those type of movies, so I kind of know that they have their own little universe going. But it is all totally over my head. So I just know that they're horror, and I know that you can't see the air quotes I'm doing, but I'm doing them really hard. It's a horror franchise where it's just like all cheap jump scares, because I guess that's what horror is now. It's not like creating like terrible atmospheres like an Alien or something like that. It's just like, oh, there's a creepy thing in the corner, and I'm just gonna like turn around really quick, or some stupid shit's gonna pop out from the bottom, or it's just gonna scream really loud in my face. So that's what I'm kind of expecting to see this trailer. I have not seen it yet, but I feel like I can almost guarantee there's gonna be some like weird ominous music, and there's gonna be some stupid shit that jumps out during this trailer. I will bet you $20 on it.
well, I was gonna say, like the whole Conjuring universe is based on the life and work of Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were
Yes.
two famous paranormal investigators. And the first one, the first one pretty much followed the one of the earlier cases. The second one kind of follows it to a T. Where it starts to fall apart is when you start seeing is when you get to Annabelle and the Nun, because that's when you start to making huge flights of fancy. Because I don't consider myself a a paranormal expert, but I do like to dabble in it from time to time. But nowhere have I seen Ed or Lorraine Warren in real life tackle a demonic figure who cross dresses as a nun. I mean, it's basically what we're watching. We're just watching a demon cross dress. So, say what?
Oh, nothing. I was just yeah. I don't the whole paranormal stuff doesn't really jive with me as far as the movie going experience goes.
I mean, it's kind of cheap when you think about it, because there's so many other things that you could do with horror to make it good, and
Of course.
yet they've taken and yet they've taken the path of least resistance by going with with this. I mean, now granted, it is somewhat based on real life figures, but even then, I mean, they've embellished the absolute shit out of it to the point where you're just sitting there scratching your heads thinking this is pretty absurd even for horror.
Of course. And I mean, like, and I won't say I'm completely out of it. Like, The Exorcist to me, fantastic movie.
Oh yeah. Rosemary's
So
Baby too. Rosemary's
what,
Baby was a good one. So
yes, that's another good one. Yes, yeah. The definitely, this is a genre that I think has seen really strong suits in it. And as I said, I don't really follow it as closely as I might have done so in the past. So I probably shouldn't just sit here and pass judgment on it. But I can't really remember the last time I really cared about seeing anything in this genre. I feel like it's in dire need of something new coming along.
I mean, well, let's not forget what they did with the whole Michael Myers thing. Because when did the last one come out? Did it come out a year ago or the year before that?
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
they were milking it for everything that they had. And at some point, you're just thinking to yourself, why won't they just let Michael Myers die? Like,
No,
how
man.
many times does he have to keep coming back from the grave? And how many times does he have to keep going after Jamie Lee Curtis? Like, come on. Like, I mean, in the last Halloween movie, like, I mean, the entire movie, you're just wondering, is Jamie Lee Curtis thinking to herself, God, I'm getting too old for this shit?
I'm sure Michael Myers is thinking like, hey, this is supposed to be about me. Why the hell am I not even in it? So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think there's a lot of things, but you know what? Evil dies tonight, so we'll see what happens.
All right, so let's jump right in to the trailer for The Nun 2.
There's something wrong with the school. Something doesn't feel right.
It's like staring high.
Yeah, that's just normal behavior.
Hey, wait, was that the guy in the last one?
Sophie,
I
Maybe?
think that's a different one.
I think there's something here that's not meant to be.
Oh, that looked like the nun. Because she was in the second. She was in the first one.
Yeah, Tasha Farmiga. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Farrah Farmiga's sister. Oh God, the tension's so high.
That looked like the nun to me.
I mean, that could have just been a nun. She's like freaked out that there's actually a nun there. Oh wow, I didn't see that coming. Holy, it's just so predictable.
it's come back for me.
This demon was once an angel. Rejected by God. Stripped of power.
It wants that power back.
Conjuring Universe.
Oh, magazine stand. I haven't seen those in 20 years.
It's okay to be scared. I'm scared too.
You send that thing back to hell.
Is it a jump scare?
Oh no, bro! I think it's totally just gonna sit there like this. Oh, what's happened when she turns back? Oh my God! Oh, Jesus jumped out at her! Oh my God! Totally up the edge of my seat for that one. Jeez. Oh my gosh! I just I feel like I know I'm just repeating myself, but it's just like I don't get it. It's not for me, right? I think, and I totally appreciate. I know people like this type of stuff, and that's fine, right? Like I'm not here to shit on anyone's opinion about it. I know that there's people that do get enjoyment out of it, and I can understand, right? Like I think jump scares do kind of startle people. I know that it does kind of elicit that type of reaction out of people. And like certainly, like I'm not gonna pretend like I don't like don't jump at jump scares, right? Like when it happens, it's like oh shit. It kind of takes me back, but then it's like, okay, how many times is that going to be what the movie does?
But it's
like,
got to be, it's got to be organic though, because if because in this entire trailer, you kind of anticipate, you kind of knew that it was coming. So when it did come, you're like, I mean, at this point, like, and I think you might have mentioned this earlier. The horror. Most horror movies are pretty much following the same formula. Yeah, the story might be different, the monsters might be different, but they're following a formula so much to the point where you're wondering if they're all using the same script writer who's just churning out different scripts for different movies and then repackaging them as something that's, oh no, this is new and innovative and different, when really it's not.
It's the same. It's the same schlock over and over and over again. So yeah, and that's a good point. It's like literally like I could imagine some horror writer sitting there. And I don't mean, like I said, I'm not bagging on any horror writers, but like, it's just like, you have like a bag and be like, okay, cool. What's the villain this time? Oh, it's a fucking nun. Okay, cool. We're going to have a nun be the villain this time. And what we're going to do? How many jump scares should we have? 27. Okay. We have to get 27 jump scares into a story about a nun. Let's just go ahead and do it. And I feel like that is pretty much the essence of it. Because it's always the same thing. It's always like, we have the light going across the room, like, oh, a slow pan. Like, eventually she's going to see something, right? And it's just like, oh, cool. Saw a nun. Oh, okay, that was kind of creepy. And then, like, they pull back and you see these, like, like group of girls talking. And it's like, oh, it's really lingering on this scene. I wonder what's going to happen next. And then all of a sudden you see the nun's hands jump out. I'm like, oh, that's totally unexpected. How did I not see that one coming? And then you have the one with the at the very end there where there's like a stand, and it's just like, oh, cool. There's this kind of like nun creation that comes alive in the magazines, and you have this like, oh, let's look behind me, and it's like, oh, there's nothing there. It's like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen when she turns back around. It's either gonna be there waiting for us, or it's gonna happen right afterwards. Like, there's just, to me, there's no engagement to it. It's like, if you've seen one of these, you've seen it 1,000 times, and it just, like I said, this is why I've pretty much not seen anything horror related for some time. It's exactly because it's all formulaic. It's all just the same old slow pans, have stuff jump out at you, have kind of this like low moment, and then something jumps out at you, or crazy stuff jumps out. Everything is just jumping at you at any opportunity they have.
Well, I mean, well, not to mention the fact that in the second Conjuring movie, the nun, makes her appearance as a painting. So, I mean, yeah, it could be a callback to the second Conjuring movie, but at the same time, it's like, really, they just appear as a picture in a picture frame or a magazine, and then they jump out at you. Like, couldn't they try something different? Like, couldn't they come out of the vents or something? Couldn't they just do anything besides popping out of a picture book? That's my main gripe right there. And I know you haven't seen the second Conjuring movie, and frankly, I don't recommend watching because you really don't get anything from it. But basically, the nun starts out as a painting in an upstairs bedroom, and then she pops out and tries to strangle one of the main characters and goes back into the painting for some weird reason. Let me
have
ask
a spin-off of it later on.
I mean, they might do a Nun 3, so I don't know where else you can take that story, but I did want to ask you. So, what did you think about that backstory about it used to be an angel that God hated, and now it's trying to take its power back? Like, what did you think about that whole shtick?
Stupid. It's stupid. I don't even. It's like, cool. Like, does anyone really care? Is anyone like, oh wow, that's really interesting? Like, I really need to understand more about the nun and why it's there. Like, let's just stop pretending like you're not going to just throw 1,000 jump scares into it and call it a movie. Like, it just, like I said, I honestly, I don't even know if I caught that. So I guess good for you for catching that there was like some attempt at creating an understanding of the nun. That totally just went out one ear, went in one ear and out the other. That's how close I was paying attention to that, because who cares, right? Like, oh no, like, cool. I really, before I just didn't know enough about the nun character, and then now that I see that, oh shit, that totally changes my perception about it. Now I understand, what the nun's all about. Like, sorry, that absolutely resonates with me. Absolutely not at all.
I mean, it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, it's still a demon that's going out to get people.
Who cares?
So why would you care what its motivations are?
Cool. It's always a demon, ghost, supernatural nonsense, and it's always pretty much the same derivative thing. At this stage, I don't care. Back to my analogy of just like drawing things out of a hat. After I pick the nun, it's like, okay, well now in the second one, we need to explain what the nun is, and then you go back to that same bag and pull out random shit about it has something to do with God and something about power. And then there we go. Now we have its origin story.
Right, because they've never done that before in a horror movie. This is new.
Yep, super original.
So is it safe to say that we may have found a trailer that's worse than Wonka, or what?
That's a good question. I don't know what I find less appealing. I mean, I guess I would probably say that I found the Nun 2 to be less appealing. I mean, I guess some of that's too because the genre to me is not really looking very strong right now, but it also to me doesn't really bring anything to the table that we haven't seen done 1,000 times. So
right.
I don't know. It's a pretty close race, but I think I would at least give Wonka a little bit of a nudge in that direction solely because it's got pretty sets, I guess.
Well, I mean, even then, I mean, it is standing on the shoulders of giants, i.e., Gene Wilder. So it's got that going for it. Whereas the Conjuring universe itself, I mean, unless you're a huge enthusiast, of the paranormal and of horror, this pretty much just goes over everyone's heads.
Yeah.
So really, this trailer this trailer pretty much just goes for like a certain subset of the audience that's really, really into it. So, but I did want to say, sometime in October, we are going to have an episode where we pick our top 5 favorite horror films. So
I hope I can name 5 horror films at that time.
well, that's why I'm giving you a head start. I've got 2 so far on the list. And
no, don't say them. Don't say them. No spoilers.
No. I'm not going to say it, but I'm just saying I've got 2 so far. So I'm starting off with 5 and 4. So I've got 5 and 4, and then 3 to 1. It's still it's still up in the air. I mean I've actually gotten through my top 5 action movies a lot quicker than top 5 horror because, like you said, it's a played out genre, and with so many movies following the same formula, you're kind of hard pressed to find any good horror films within the last 20 to 25 years that kind of meet the mark. Even a movie like Paranormal Activity, which at one point seemed like a pretty novel idea, it's become played out because it became a formula. They took something that was completely novel for the time, and they decided to turn it into a cash cow. And look at what we're dealing with at the moment.
I am going to give up one horror movie, right?
Winnie the
Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Really?
Definitely my top 5. Absolutely.
Okay, well, we won't go any further than that because we definitely want to.
That's a joke. There's no way in hell. No, just no. But yes,
it did look kind of creepy though because I did see some parts of it. I was like, this is actually more palatable than the entire Conjuring movies. So,
well, if you saw the whole thing, you might change your mind on that. So, but
well, that's why I said I saw bits and pieces of it. So.
Yes, yeah.
All right, so that is our take on The Nun 2. Let us know in the comments below if you think it's a hit or miss, or if it's quote unquote scary.
No.
I think I think you and I are both in the same boat where we both think this is it's pretty much like Bud Light. Really, it's just cheap.
Oh, that was the direction you're going. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
It's just cheap piss water. It's not the real thing. You want the real thing? Go and watch The Exorcist or Rosemary's Baby or The Omen. The 1971 one, not the one with Lee Schreiber.
Yeah.